Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you how I went from this base here to these walls that are creating the basic structure for my new wood-fired sauna. So I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do this from start to finish. So the first job here is that I need to cut the top and bottom rails for the left-hand wall. That's the wall that I'm going to be building first, but essentially the three walls, the sides and the back, are basically all the same. The front wall is slightly different because we're going to be putting a door in, but this is pretty straightforward stuff, guys. The top and bottom rail here are just going to be cut out of one piece of timber, and they want to be exactly the same length. So I'm just going to double check these, make sure they are the same length, make sure that end's flush, make sure I'm happy with that, and then I'm going to take them down to the base just to make sure they fit in place exactly as I want them to. Following that, we can proceed to cutting the studs, and the good news here is with this build I'm going to be creating all the walls the same height, and that means that every single stud is exactly the same length, so we can cut every single stud all in one go here before we start to mark out that top and bottom rail. Okay, so once that's done we can move on to marking out, and this is very simple. Again, I'm just going to put a couple of crosses there. I'm going to mark 380, which is 400 to the center of the first stud, and then following that I'm just going to go from the line and mark 400 millimeters, 800, 1200, 1600. Check that from the end, that's around 400 because this is 2.4 meters, and yeah, I'm relatively happy with that. We're just going to mark across with the square. We're going to put across either side just to show us exactly where our studs are going to go. And now once we've got the studs in place, we've separated that top and bottom rail, you can see how these line up. And this just ensures that either end of the studs are in exactly the right place. There's no chance of making any mistakes by doing it this way. Following that, I'm going to fix it all together. And for me, I'm using the nail gun here. So it's two fixings, either end. Obviously, if you don't have a nail gun, by all means, just use manual 4-inch nails, or you could screw it if you prefer. And then once that's done, I'm going to take it over and I'm going to pop it in place, ready for fixing down to the base. Now, one thing I will point out here is I have marked around the base 12 millimeters, and that's what I'm going to set this wall back from the edge, and that's going to allow OSB to sit down on top of this ply base. You can also see that Stanley's come out to give me a hand with this, which is obviously much appreciated. Always good to have somebody to give you a little hand, especially when you're trying to hold something up and fix it at the same time. And that's just allowing me to get a fixing in between each stud, and that's going to secure this down to the base really well. So we're obviously going into wood here, so I can screw straight into it. If you're going into some kind of concrete base or something else, then by all means, you can drill this, plug it, or use some kind of concrete screw to fix directly to it. But pretty straightforward here, not that complicated at all. I'm just going to give it a little quick check with a level as well. And even at this stage, because the base is so level, these corners are actually looking relatively plumb. So it's the same process here for the other side. You can see Stanley's just going to hold on to that for me. Now the only difference here is you'll notice I'm using the nail gun to fix it down. And this wasn't because I decided nails were necessarily better than screws. It was actually because I was running out of screws. And what I really wanted to do was screw the corners together like I am now. So I've put the back frame in now, and I wanted to actually screw the back corner to the side corner, if that makes sense. One thing I will point out here is well, I actually made a mistake here. So full transparency, I do make mistakes quite often actually, and it's more about not necessarily not making mistakes, but like getting out of the mess you've got yourself into. So I made my wall just a tiny bit too short here, and I just packed it out with a piece of 12mm ply because it was around 10 to 12mm short. So that kind of saved me there from messing this up entirely. Next job is just marking out for the front wall. So I'm just trying to figure out here where my door's going to go, because I'm going to have a stove in there as well, and I want the door and the stove to be separate. So this is what I ended up coming up with. We've got the wall on the left, the door opening there on the right. So again, quite straightforward. And obviously because I made a little balls up on the back wall, I made sure that I didn't make the same mistake on this wall. And you can see once I put this in, this is a very nice snug fit, to the extent where I can actually walk away from this with no fixings in it and it doesn't move anywhere. Following this, I'm just going to put screws into the top corner here. So from the front wall into the side wall, so exactly the same process. And generally what I'm doing is I'm putting about 5 or 6 fixings in these corners to like tie the walls together. So you can see me putting another one in the bottom here. And then once I've got the top and bottom in both sides, I'm going to move to the other side, put one in the bottom of there. And I believe at this point my battery ran out. So I'm just going to skip forward to the next bit. You can see me nailing down to the floor. But essentially all these corners now are fixed together really nice and secure. And I've got to say, at this point, you can see me checking it with my level there. This is actually already really quite plumb. But the next job here is adding some OSB, and this is going to really sort of tighten everything up. And the main reason for this is actually very simple, and that is that any kind of sheet material like OSB is machine cut, you know, so that the corners on them tend to be very square. So what this is actually going to do is it's going to pull our walls into plumb. So what I'm doing now is I'm just cutting the top off because it's a little bit too long. But essentially, because the studs are spaced the way they are, this is going to land perfectly on one of those studs. And what I'm doing now is I'm putting a machined edge to the bottom and that left-hand side. And what this is going to do, once I get a couple of fixings in, it's going to pull that wall. If it's even slightly out of plumb, it's going to pull it into plumb. And now the reason this works is because the base is so level. So I want to stress at this point, you know, it really is important that you get the base level. If you get the base level, it's going to make fixing the walls, making sure that everything is plumb and square, that much easier. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few fixings in here with the nail gun, and then I'm going to proceed to add a piece on the front. So I'm not going to put all the nails in these at once because it would just take a lot of time. So basically what I would generally do here is I would fix it with a few sort of fixings to hold it in place, and then once all the OSB is on, I would come along and finish it off. Okay, so you can see I'm going to put another piece on that front corner there. You actually saw the wall move there a little bit, and you can see that I've put the level on it. And again, I'm extremely happy that that is very nice and plumb now. So I'm going to pop that piece on the back as well. Again, just a few fixings just to hold that in place. Then we can put this front corner in here. Evie's just giving me a little hand there. At this point, we got a little bit of rain, so I quickly covered this up while the shower passed. This didn't last long. And once that was done, I could add that last piece of OSB on the back right hand side wall. And as you can see, this is actually looking pretty good now. So at this point, we have our 4 walls. The job basically at this point is done. We do need to add some noggins inside, but I didn't end up doing this till later in the job. So you will see that on a future video. But that's it, our walls are up. And we are ready for the next job, which is fitting the roof. So that's going to be the next video, guys. I'm going to give you a quick little sneak peek now of how that's going to look as well. So this is a lovely little sloped roof. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in the next video. If you don't want to miss that and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I hope you like this video, guys, and I will see you in the next one.